All right, welcome everybody. Today's roundtable topic is social media. Like the term suggests, social media is all about engagement. Even if you're not doing it or you're not doing it enough, that's okay. Today is day one. Our goal here today is to leave you with something tangible, something actionable, to see what other people are doing and really help you towards the next step for social media success. I heard a cool analogy on a roundtable that I was on a week ago or so, and they said that it's like a buffet, and not everybody eats every dish at a buffet. And so some dishes you might not like, it might not apply, you might just not want to do it. So you don't need to take everything from this, even just a few little things and applying it is really going to help you be successful, separate you from your competitors. So I thought that was an amazing way to look at roundtables. And so Emily and I will be alternating. We've got a couple categories. So we're going to start with platforms, move on to content, metrics, apps and hacks, paid services, and then just miscellaneous tips that we didn't cover throughout the prior sections. And so with that, take it away, Emily, with platforms.
Okie dokie. Thank you, Brittany. Hi, everybody. I'm Emily. I am with Bernardo Wells Architects in Spokane. We are about a 45-person architecture, landscape architecture, and interior design firm in Spokane. A couple years ago, well, I keep saying that, and then I realize that it's 2022 now. And so 4 years ago, we started looking at kind of our social media online experience. And Gretchen and I attended together a presentation by a marketing consultant, and he offered an overall marketing review of our online presence, including our website, all our accounts. And we invited him to do that, to just review everything on the internet about Bernardo Wells Architects and see what he thought. And it was a really helpful process to take stock of what we are putting out into the world on the internet and how that has changed and how our needs have changed even in the last 5 years. And so that's when we really started focusing on digital marketing. So part of my job is digital marketing, social media being a part of that. So this first platform question is, what are the best social media platforms you have the most success with, and how often do you post? So I will start with kind of the formula that has worked well for us, and then I'll open it up to the group and we can have some dialogue on that. So for Bernardo Wells, we focus on like the buffet. I love that analogy, Brittany, because it really is true. So when you think about social media, you have customers, different kinds of clients, potential clients and potential opportunities are using social media platforms differently. Depends on the age, the demographic. And so we cast a pretty wide net. We post on Google My Business, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. We also have an Instagram account. And so we target each of those platforms differently. For instance, on Instagram, we're primarily posting 6 posts at a time, mostly project photography, which is different than kind of our daily LinkedIn updates. That would be more organic content. So the Instagram is more curated. The Facebook, LinkedIn, Google My Business is more organic. A lot of recycled content on those 3 platforms. So you might see the same post on our LinkedIn that you would on Facebook. And we do post on Pinterest, which Pinterest is a really interesting wild beast because you can get a lot of engagement on architectural photography on Pinterest. The question is, what does it do for your firm? because people in Turkey and Guatemala are pinning our photography. But it does add to the machine of search engine optimization. And so it is worthwhile because it's your name, your content being clicked and engaged with.
Are we asking questions as we go?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay, so regarding Pinterest,
Yeah.
Mhm.
how do you guys control the bot responses then that Pinterest
Um,
and Instagram are really bad about?
so on Instagram, at least, I can answer. We don't have too much of a problem with bots. Like I'll get a couple comments, but none of them have been inappropriate. They've all been in response to our hashtags. So like if we hashtag urban design, an urban design bot will comment, "Hey, share your photo on at urban design, Insta or whatever." So we haven't had a major, and so I'll see that pop up and I'll be like, that's not worth my time to log in and delete. If it was an inappropriate comment, yeah, then we'd go in. And so we haven't had too much of a problem with bots yet, knock on wood. I believe our social media consultant would help on our Pinterest because I don't post on Pinterest. He does that. So yes, that is another kind of, I do not have to post daily on these platforms. Josh, who we work with, does that, which is a huge help with time because time is the biggest. So my responsibility is creating the content, facilitating the content, sending that to him, and he spreads it out and make sure it's all working. So those are the platforms that we use. We do not use Yelp. We have decided that Yelp does not make sense for us. We do tweet. We have not really harnessed probably the power of Twitter. But again, we've had a lot of success with LinkedIn. LinkedIn has been our biggest growing channel. And so we're continuing really the content I write is for our LinkedIn audience. And then we do kind of fun stuff. Facebook is still big. I know that people say that Facebook is dying. For us, it's still big, and our clients use it, and our consultants use it, and municipalities use it. So we'll post on Facebook. The city of Spokane will pick it up. They have a great following on Facebook. So it's still working for us. So yeah, Facebook and LinkedIn are our biggest growing channels. I think my biggest advice would be to go and claim your account. So if you're just starting out, you're a firm, you have a Facebook account and maybe a LinkedIn. The first step would be to go and make sure that your business name or your domain or whatever your username is claimed. You don't have to post, but I would maybe make an account. And so if you ever wanted to in the future, you have that option. So like Carrie, I'm sure you guys have an Instagram, but Studio Megs Zara or whatever your at would be, you could claim that and just keep it in your back pocket. And that same goes for like a Google My Business. Even though we don't use Yelp, we claimed our Yelp page so that no one can go in and do crazy stuff. Yeah, claiming your Google My Business page, making sure all of that information is up to date. I know personally, I use Google to find phone numbers and addresses. So that's important. And operating hours, if your hours have changed since COVID, that could be if you're only accepting visitors on certain days, that would be. So those are the platforms that we use. Any questions on platforms, or if you just want to jump in and talk about what you're using?
I love what you touched on about, knowing what your clients are using or who you want to work with. But like sometimes we stalk, but we definitely don't get caught on like if there's somebody we really want to work with and just finding out what content and social media they like and they use when they're most active. But also Facebook is so good for anybody who you are looking to hire. That's what they usually go to your Facebook page to see what the culture is like, what matters to you, and it's important there. So I found that a lot of prospective employees, they always, oh yeah, we checked out your Facebook. So that's, I think that I love how you touched on that because
Yeah, and Facebook is also it's all feeding the search engine.
Yeah.
And so all of that content we also post on our website's blog. And so that is all feeding into when they search architects in Spokane, we want to be at the top of the list because of all those keywords that is, so it's never a waste of time to post. If you're like, oh man, I posted and I got like 3 likes, we do track our analytics, which we're going to talk about, but and sometimes they're great, sometimes they aren't great, but it's still feeding the machine. And there are really smart people who know a lot about this. And I just have basic knowledge that putting it into the world is like, it's half of it, and then it takes off and then feeds the big machine. So if anyone else is an expert on that, you can pipe in, but that's what I've been told. And that's why we keep going, even though sometimes it is a bit of a slog to write content every day. But it's worked well for us, but it's also been a long game. I think Gretchen would agree that we didn't start feeling momentum on social until maybe we were at it a year, and then it starts kind of snowballing where our clients are mentioning it, our consultants, contractors are kind of anecdotally like, man, you guys are killing it. Or my favorite was somebody said, you guys are really busy. And I'm like, yes, we are busy because we are so awesome at what we do, right? That's like, okay, we're nailing it. That's the right message of look at, we're doing this, and it's exciting. And so if you want to get crazy with it, you can identify each client type you're chasing, say we want to do more work with dentists. Well, then you get into the demographics. Well, these are probably dentists that are, and I won't give away all our secrets, but it's like, well, what is a dentist using for social media? And who are they listening to? Are they listening to maybe their spouses? What do their spouses use for social media? And so that helps you narrow your glance, so we have limited resources, so you can really target the platform. So that is all I have to say about platforms. I don't want to take up too much time, Brittany.
no, I mean,
Any other questions?
I was curious, does anybody use House? Because I know that there are some architect firms that are starting to do it and they're having really good results. So, yeah, nobody. Yeah.
We don't use House. We do not do any residential architecture. So I think that changes a little bit. And that's another reason why we have abandoned Yelp.
Exactly.
Because and the Yelp salesman has been really mean to me about this, saying people don't find their architects on Facebook. They find them on Yelp. And I just don't think that's true from what we've seen.
We've used House before and have an account and done different. We were really involved at one point, quite a few years ago, with went down their rabbit hole for a little bit, and it was, there wasn't the cost benefit there. I felt as though, and we do residential, but it's about maybe 20% of our firm's business, and we're actually very selective on the residential we're doing. So we find that when we do have our residential client, it's a great place to send them for ideas, and then they can work with our team that way. We do get questions though from people like, oh, what did you use in this project, and what did you, so those come trickle in. I mean, I have a project that's more than 10 years old and we still get questions on it from people going through pictures on House. So I know the contractors in our area are using it a lot.
Yeah, that's what I figured contractors for sure would benefit from that.
So
Yes,
that's my 2 cents.
I
I felt
just
as though
looked-
they were mean and I got into an argument with them. So I was like, well, okay, we'll keep our account, but I'm not giving you any more money.
Yeah. Well, and two, like I just went on House. If you're interested in that, and you can put in your zip code and see the firms nearby that are using it. So these are all small residential firms that we do not compete with. And so it wouldn't be beneficial for us to get in there, most likely not. So that's another way. If you're on the fence, same with Yelp, you can see, are our competitors using this and doing better than we are? Well, that might get you into the game a little bit.
Right. Well,
I
and
love what you
advertise-
said. Go ahead, Jacqueline.
Oh, I'm sorry. So much, whatever content I'm get up on other platforms would not be the content I'm putting on House. It's
Yeah, and I love what
And-
you said about being selective. Like if it's 20% of our portfolio, and even then we are really picky about those projects, then you don't need to put more energy into getting, this huge volume of opportunities, right? And then you'd have to whittle it down into the 20% you actually want to do. And so I think you're spot on.
The only other thing I wanted to add to the topic of platforms is putting it in your email signature with a clickable link and making it easy for people not to have to search for you, like in anywhere that you can. And also, if you're posting to Facebook and it's linked to your Google My Business, as long as you're doing 1 post a week, you're going to show up in the search engine. So that's their bare minimum. So that if you're posting once a week, it's not like you have to do it every day to show up in the search link when they go on the Google My Business. So the exposure on the front page it's definitely, you have more visibility. So I think that was kind of all I wanted to mention on that.
I'll add our social media on our platforms. Runberg Architecture Group, we're at 35 employees, and we do Instagram, and LinkedIn is basically our platforms. Yeah, just kind of showing our work out there. We're not necessarily looking to really grow that much, so I think that's why we've kind of stuck to those 2 platforms, and engagement has been fairly well received on those.
I've seen it was an interesting strategy. It was one of our clients in California, and they were going through a transition where the old owner was kind of phasing out, and he brought on a young group of ownership, probably 4 or 5 people, and they had shifted their strategy from, okay, I'm just going to do LinkedIn, and they kind of just with the newer generation, and they were trying to target a different audience. So they kind of shifted to Instagram and Facebook, and it's been working really well for them. So I think just kind of knowing who your target clients are and your audience, and also who you want, if you want the best of the best working for you, where are they looking? So I like that. Yeah, so anybody else have anything?
What do you all think about Snapchat?
Ooh,
Does anyone use Snapchat or TikTok?
that's such a good question. Not personally or professionally.
No, we don't really use any of that.
Gretchen, do you know anybody who's using it?
Other than my son, but he's not looking for architectural services. So just thought maybe yes, as our client base changes, is that something that in a few years we are going to have to kind of look at?
I've seen kind of just browsing out there, a lot of businesses do use TikTok, which kind of, I don't know how that really relays into making them seem personable sometimes. But I've noticed just in my own social media that they kind of like real estate agents kind of pop up on there, and then it kind of gets you thinking oh, well, are they more hip? Do I want to work with them more or something like that? I don't know. I don't know how that really transfers into architecture, but
Mhm.
It's a perfect segue into content because short form video is huge. It used to be you could do a blog post, all text, and that was the standard. And then it's like, oh, pictures are great. We love pictures. And now it's video. That is the gold star content. And so I don't see Snapchat as being a platform that I think it will still be widely used for what it is, which is, I think, mostly chatting and sending pictures out. I mean, I haven't used Snapchat in a while, but TikTok, I can see TikTok becoming one of those platforms that professional firms are using weirdly because of the short form video capabilities and even just the editing within the app is pretty powerful. I still don't have a TikTok account. I think I have to get one. I just don't need another reason to look at my phone. But that's a good segue because short form video, even if it's just up and down on your phone, is still really powerful. So it doesn't have to be perfectly edited, professional quality video anymore. Like Josh, our marketing consultant, is just like, just take your phone out at a job site and press record and people will love it. It doesn't have to be fancy. So I think that's one myth that we can bust today is that if you are feeling like, well, if I can't get professional photos or professional videos, it's not worth posting, right? That's actually not true. Our phones are amazingly powerful now. They have wonderful cameras. And if you can just coach staff a little bit on how to do it, take it lengthwise and not of a gravel pit, at a punch list, right? Take a picture of the whole building. That's wonderful. Patrick, do you have something to add?
well, I was actually just going to ask the question, how do you get your staff to do that? Because we kind of keep harping every staff meeting, take pictures when you're out at job sites, take pictures, like this is what we want to see, this is what we want to post, and we get nothing. Like, how do you get them excited and engaged to provide content for you without going out to every single job site and doing it yourself?
We have a schedule. So that was on my content too, is on our weekly meetings. Okay, is there a new project kicking off? Okay, yes, then you need to take photos at the beginning. Okay, are we above ground at this point? Yep, take photos. When is a project done? It's one of the closeout items. So we have a marketing schedule and it's like a calendar. It's like, okay, check for any new projects. Do we need photos? So it's a checklist. And so it's just one of their responsibilities. And now we put it in the job postings too, is you'll be responsible for taking photos at the beginning and end. Yeah. And
That's
it
interesting.
work well because they kind of just know what they're expected to do. And beyond it, we tell, okay, this is what we're going to use it for. So that they know why they're doing it. And it's not just like, hey, we're trying to give you more to do. It actually has a purpose. So it's been working well.
I've utilized the control freak approach of we hired, when we hired a graphic designer, we split the post a little bit to include a brand photography element. And that has worked really well. She's only been here a couple months, but it's made a big difference. So like Sam, I've basically set an expectation that you are photographing something once a week. If it's a job site or an event or, so that has helped take the burden off of me. And so I would say, so really we struggle with that engagement, Patrick, and that reminder. And so, and admittedly, I've not reminded them as much as I could because we get tired of it. But so that has been, but now it feels like we're getting some more momentum. So sometimes I'll get pictures unprovoked, which is fantastic. So I think it takes like years to just develop the culture of we're all feeding the machine. And then they start saying, well, I want pictures taken of my project. I want Sam to come and take pictures, of my thing. And so then we'll get a little momentum. But yeah, I'm on this other side where like I run the content calendar, and so I'm maybe this is somewhere I could improve, is I'm the harbinger of the content, and I usually don't include anyone else in planning just because nobody else has time.
So what we've got we have a schedule for the major like once every however often, a certain project is going to be featured on a social media post, and our marketing manager goes right to the project manager, and like they have a meeting about it. And one of like what you said, control freak, one of the expectations is you're going to have to bring me a picture because we're featuring your project. And I think that just starts to build the habit of taking pictures of things other than porta potties and gravel pits, because they want a good picture to showcase their project. So we're kind of starting at the big stuff, that way they only have to worry about it every 8 weeks or whatever, but it starts to build that habit is the goal. So we've folded it into planned featured posts about a very specific project. And then as people get used to taking those pictures, the interim ones start to come out.
That's a good idea to plan ahead on a particular project, because I think we're kind of maybe back end on it, just like, oh, what do we have? What can we do? Like, oh, this maybe got a good photo, so we'll put that up there, and not really planning it per project. That's a good idea.
Yeah, ours are pre-planned, like 6 to 8 weeks, I think. This project, then this project, then this project. The content is developed closer to, but at least the projects are pinned, and that way people have a heads up, they can start thinking about it. It seems to be working.
You can also base it more on the calendar schedule of the project, like certain completion times. So if like the interiors are going to be done, in 3 months, you can already note that, this is when we need to take those pictures, rather than saying, what's out there right now, and then randomly just saying, well, what about that project, but that way certain milestones can be captured that will show well as well.
That's definitely factored into our our calendar. Yeah.
I love that. Lots of good nuggets. Right. Well, I think we've already kind of trickled into content, but I think this is just probably going to be just the bulk of the rest of it, just because it's such a huge topic, and so excited to hear everybody's ideas. Everything that we do with social media is linked to story. And so I think one of the biggest skills is being a good storyteller, having that be just an essential skill in social media. The number one goal is to take relationships online, whether you already have it or you're trying to get them, and take them offline and turn them into professional relationships. And that's really where the value of social media is. So content is it's amazing. Even looking beyond your competitors, and sometimes it's just looking in different markets and sectors, because sometimes it seems like we've become a copy of other firms. So we always try to just look at who inspires us, sometimes outside of the arena of architecture and design. Quantity over quality, definitely not. Good content does not mean long content. I think Emily already touched on it, but we're a visual culture. So tailoring what you do on Instagram versus what you do on LinkedIn. So definitely, just people don't like to read as much as they used to. We have so many emails and so much information all the time that people, if it's too long, they're not going to use it. It's not, and they are the ultimate judge of whether or not what you're doing is useful. So that's just kind of always been our thing. It's just short and sweet. There's a ton of content ideas and things I've got on the list, but what for us is highlighting the human component of our business, highlighting our team, why we do a great job, how they work together, just why they're strong. Also, another approach that I think is really fascinating is being a visible expert. I've seen attorneys and architects start using Quora, And so they go on the board for architecture or whatever your field is, and they just respond to people's questions. I thought that was brilliant. They're not asking for anything. They're just saying, hey, I know about this. I'm going to respond. I'm going to help you. And that translates into business a lot if you do it enough. They get to know your name. They see you're passionate. I thought that was just such an awesome approach. And what's going on in your community or different. For Facebook, you can have on your main page, you can have different locations. So if you have an office in California or Florida or wherever else, you can have those separate pages and highlight what's going on at those locations. And then they can appear on your main page, or they can just say stay separate. So if there's something going on in the community in that location, I thought that was a really cool way to use Facebook. So I know, Emily, you touched on a content calendar, and I've actually got a handout that I will give to you guys. I'll try to share my screen.
So, oh yeah, you share yours and I'll share mine.
Awesome. Let's see. Can you guys see my screen?
We see a spreadsheet, yes.
Okay, cool. So this I got from a webinar that I thought was really awesome. So on the tabs on the bottom, so you can see there's content idea. And so taking these and rotating them. So like we pick a category of each and then alternate per week. And so you can get personal, uplifting, favorite things, promoting yourself, share the love, showing gratitude, interviewing a customer, and miscellaneous things. So I'll share this with you guys. And then there's also hashtag days. So these are good ideas for different hashtags. Like, let's see, there's Tech Tuesday, Topic Tuesday. So really awesome. And then there is a holiday calendar of every holiday you never knew existed. Amazing. National Blondie Brownie Day, Beer Can Appreciation Day. Like I had no idea this even existed until I took this webinar. So amazing. And then here's on their calendar, I guess it doesn't, but if you see at the top right, they're color coding keys. And so they use pink for holiday, yellow for email campaign, green for event, blog post, social media. And so that kind of color code it like that. And so it's, 1 or 2 a week and alternating them. So if you're not using a content calendar already, I'm happy to share this as a takeaway. Humongous, amazing resource for us that I think has just been a game changer. So is anybody using a content calendar currently? I know, Emily, you said you are.
This is, so I'm analog on my content calendar. So a couple years ago, I bought this, it's called the Content Strategy Planner. I just found it on Amazon. And so it is just a planner, and I had it bound so it's easy. And so like this is my month of May. And so like the first, let me show you a really good month where I just totally killed it.
I love it.
Because that'll be more fun. So basically I use it to plan out and also as historical record of what I've done, because what was happening is I would send a post and they're like, oh, we posted about this project like 3 days ago. And I guess I haven't been killing it this year. But for instance, so I'll write the post, so I'll kind of plan it out and then I'll cross it off when it's done. And this works for me because I want it to be done. I want to fill up the whole month and be really satisfied by that. But I like having the historical record. We also use Mail Manager. So I have all of my social posts saved and archived so that I can search and see when I last posted about a project, if I want to recycle content. I will go back, for instance, like a throwback post. I will go back and see what I've posted on May 5th for the last 3 years and see if there's anything really good that we can kind of resurrect and bring back, so that like the first 2 years writing organic content every day. And then after that, I can kind of blend it in so it's not so labor intensive. I've already written the project descriptions. I've already written, you know, the staff description, so I can just update a little bit and reuse that content. So this works for me, but it's also been a department of one. And so if I would like to share this with someone in the future, I like your calendar a lot, Brittany, and I would love that spreadsheet too.
Happy to share it with you guys. Anybody else content calendar or ways that they organize, Jacqueline? Oh, you're muted, just FYI.
Not unmuting where I wanted to. No, I would love to get the copy of yours because I don't have a great system. So I think because of that, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm not dealing with that today. So.
You know, one thing I love about this calendar too is there on some, I think there's like a main page or something, but they shift the strategy depending on the season and the time of year. Like, you know, in summer, it's more fun and it's activities and you kind of share a more personal side. So I love just shifting your strategy per season. You know, towards the end of the year, it's like, okay, we're ramping up. We want to work with people. We want them to remember us coming into the new year when they're creating budgets and bidding out and new people are coming on board. So I think that's always a good lesson is just being mindful of the season that you're in and what's important to the people you're trying to reach. So I thought that was a pretty clever tool.
Yeah, and it's a good way to take the weight off of like your technical staff if they are not responding to your requests. Like at the end of the year, we do a lot of giving. And so an idea, I just highlight all of the nonprofits that we're giving to at the end of the year. And that elevates their presence. So and we're getting, we're all benefiting from that content. So yeah, it doesn't have to be about you all the time, even just sharing an article about something that's happening, when the parks open up here in Spokane, I'll post that, or yeah, current events, positive ones, and how, and that is furthering, especially if you're a local office, in a set location. And what's more difficult if you're sharing one social account with your entire, if you have 10 branch offices all over the country, a little more difficult, but doable. So yeah, those are some ideas. There was the question of how often do you post? We try to post every day. And that's not necessarily like the secret sauce. It has worked for us, but lower the barrier of entry is like kind of my favorite phrase. So if it works for you to post, if you want to start getting into it and it's just, okay, I'm going to post on Monday morning. And then, and then once you get into that phase of weekly content, then maybe you can spice it up by adding 2 or 3 days. So yes, if you want to get into it, set a goal that works for you and your firm and the resources that you have, and then take it from there.
Are you guys going to talk about apps, social media apps that can help with postings?
Yes, I think we're going to talk apps and hacks.
Okay.
Okay, so I think Brittany stepped away. So let's switch gears a little bit to metrics.
My dog was barking at somebody at the door. So.
Oh, okay. So this is an interesting one, and Gretchen and I still get this question of what is all this doing for us? Is it creating projects? Is it growing revenue? What is it doing? And the question is, I don't know, but it's good stuff. And if we aren't doing it, someone else is going to do it. And I think it's about carving out our market and, reaching out to prospective employees, you know, our clients still comment on it. So it's just, while it may not, if you post, you start posting, okay, I'm gonna start posting on LinkedIn, and then hopefully next year I'll get 20 more projects. I don't believe we can measure that. At least if you figured out, awesome. But what we do measure is kind of what we can control. And I'll just screen share if I can. Ooh, I can. Okay. Awesome.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'll make you a co-host.
I'll just share with you our spreadsheet that Josh built for us. And he sends us a little update every Monday morning to see how we did last week. And so really I focus on, so as you can see, we really started in 2019. So I have all of the analytics since we first started. And you can see how it's grown. And so let's see, in 2019, our total social audience was 700. And then this month, April of 2022, it's 7,000. So that's just like with consistent engagement is really all we've done. And so he goes into great detail about what platform he tracks. Like we track some of our LinkedIn activity to see like who's growing on LinkedIn and stuff. We do use MailChimp for our monthly newsletter. We just send one newsletter out a month. And we can track through here like how many Google reviews we have, how many, like this is an interesting one. How long are people spending on Google My Business looking at us? Percent new visits, so you can really get into the weeds here. We do have a YouTube account that we use for more long form videos, and it's a good just video hosting. It makes it really easy to share videos. So this is what we track. And it is just a part of our larger marketing plan, trying to measure engagement. And so all of these can be found just in your social programs. And so you can somehow set it up where the data, I think, populates. But I would get a consultant to do that. Is because I couldn't figure this out. And now that it's built, it's kind of done. And we can just go back and check it on a weekly basis and see how we're doing. And so basically it's not, we don't get too burnt on weekly numbers, but just overall trends. How are we doing? Are we growing? Are we getting a lot of bounces? Are people hating our stuff? That's kind of what we're looking for when we look at the analytics.
Love that. You hit so many nails on the head. And one thing we've recently started doing, and I'll share a copy of it, but we're starting to take it a little further. And so this is an email and sharing with the team on social media metrics. I thought this was an amazing way, first of all, for the people who are doing it, and just to know that the information is being shared, that it's useful. And just then in the email where you're sharing it with the team is just, why is it important? Well, future employees, interns, and clients, they look at the platforms and learn about who we are and our capabilities. And it doesn't have, again, good content doesn't have to be long. This is a very short email. It took 10 minutes. We're just kind of touching on Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and overall traffic down, users. There are so many different metrics that you can get overloaded. The ones that we tend to focus on the most would be traffic, followers, users, bounce rates, and how long people are on there. You can also set alerts and get metrics for Google. So they call it negative keywords. So if somebody wants to spam you, or you get bombarded with resumes, but you're not hiring and you don't want people to email you about resumes, then it will automatically block them and you get an alert. So that's a pretty cool metric just to know how many blocked, or they call it negative keywords. So I thought that one was really interesting. cost per click is also a great metrics, just to make sure if you're using Google AdWords, how much are you paying and what's working. So those are some of the ones that we like to use. Oh, and Google Alerts, getting those metrics. So if you set an alert to the name of your firm, so anytime your firm is referenced, you're going to get an email and say, okay, you came up on this website. Or if you have architect firms that you're following or you want to work with them and you set an alert for their name, then you're automatically going to get notified, okay, they got a new project. And so you're going to be the first one to know, okay, they were the architects on this project, and just reach out to them. And just so I thought those were cool metrics to just kind of be aware of. Is anybody using any of those?
We have a lot of Google Alerts set up
Yeah.
for different keywords for us, plus, principals and stuff like that, all the names.
I love that you're doing for principals too. That's a good idea.
We've done Google Alerts for clients too.
Yeah.
So like when we start a new kind of high profile project, I'll put a Google alert in, and that way I know if it gets picked up in the business journal or something, it'll pop here, and then boom, my content is done for the day, because I'll just reshare that that article or whatever.
I have a question that kind of triggered that. Like in a business journal where you have to be a subscriber to read it, reposting that, just like the link on like your website, doesn't quite work. What is your fix around for that? Because we've tried like downloading as a PDF to then upload, but then you get kind of the weird graphics to the sides and stuff like that. What do you guys do for that?
I don't do anything. I just post the link to the article
Okay.
and wish everyone well.
Okay.
And
It's a
then
way of doing it as well. Sure.
yeah. And sometimes like we do have subscriptions in the office, and they'll like cut and paste the text so I can share a more long form. But that's a good that is a great thought, Patrick. Where
Anyone's
do you set
had
up the
worry,
Google?
let us know.
Where do you set up the Google? How do you do that from that Google business page then? Is that?
Yeah. So
I have it set up in my personal Gmail account. And so then it goes to my Gmail. I don't know how to do it the other way, but that felt more simple to me because I use my Gmail anyway. But you can go to I think it's manage your Google account.
Yeah, exactly. And we can put that in the notes too, so that it's easy.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll put it to the notes. We've got about
when I did it, I didn't want my Gmail to be bombarded with all of that, so I set up a rule to anything from Gmail alerts is automatically redirected to my work email.
Brilliant.
So it wasn't filling up my Gmail inbox, it was filling up another folder.
Right. Well, I have a separate Gmail I created just for my station. It runs the firm, so it's kind of like it would be okay in that sense because it's the only thing that's going there.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it if you already have that set up.
I love that, Patrick. I'm doing that immediately.
our idea. Yeah, I'm gonna steal that too. We got about 10 minutes left, so we'll you think we should hop on over to apps? I think that's a good one. All right. For that, so I think we've touched on a couple, but one that I've started seeing, I don't know, has anybody started noticing that people are doing the GIFs for their social media, those little motion. So apparently there's a GIF creator that people are doing.
Giphy, and I love making GIFs.
But they're using for business, and I thought it was so smart. So I love the Giphy. There's also Adobe Spark. So if you guys are familiar with Adobe InDesign, which is predominantly a desktop, and it's a little clunky and slow, they have a web-based version of it, and it's called Adobe Spark. And so it basically does all those same things, but you can access it online. You don't have to have the program and software and log on your computer. So that's awesome for content creation, updating firm resumes and those kind of things. Canva, of course, I think everybody knows, amazing content. It's quick content. There's also, I don't, Emily, you probably know a little bit or a lot more than I do about, it's Hootsuite and Buffer. So those basically will link your social media accounts. It has the option to customize. So say you're using Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can take the main post, post it on, say, Facebook, then make a copy or modify it, send it out through a different form and customize it a little bit so it's not so obvious you're copying it, and send it out at a different time too. Like if you know that your Facebook users, they're going to scroll in the morning, well, you can have that go out in the morning. And if you know LinkedIn usually kind of gets looked at during the day or lunchtime, it'll blast through LinkedIn. So it's, again, knowing the platform that you're using, what audience is using it, when they're using it. Are they scrolling in the morning, or so, those kind of things. So that these apps are great for that, and linking the content together. There's a one I like called BG Eraser, and I'll have all these in the takeaway, but that does awesome photos. You can set your timer if it's for you in a team or for your projects. It just, the creation, it will blur backgrounds. It just really high quality photos for your social media. Highly recommend it. Also short videos too with 360 rotation, which are good for your projects. So if you're on a project site and it's coming out of the ground and you just want to do a rotation of the entire project site, amazing for that. So those are some of the ones that I'm super excited about. What else is everybody using?
We use Hootsuite, and one of the things that we found really beneficial is that scheduling aspect, so that if you are a smaller firm or a smaller marketing department, it doesn't have to be something you think about every day. So, you know, like you could spend one day a month or one day every 2 weeks, get everything scheduled, get everything set up, set it and forget it. And then if you get put on proposals or whatever, you know, you don't have to worry about it because you know you got your calendar just kicking these things out automatically. And yeah, the linking too. So if you do want the same post to show up on 2 sites, you don't have, you just set it once and Hootsuite will take care of it, which is really great feature.
Love it.
So
I need that.
I know. I was like, where has this been all my life? I was like, of course it's out there. Any other apps or hacks that come to mind for anybody? If you don't already, Canva, it's just, I just adore it for, I mean, even video, they even have video templates, which it's just amazing. So, well, cool. Emily, you want to move on to paid services?
Yes. So there are a lot of options for paid services, obviously. Anywhere they could take our money, they want to. So we do not pay for Facebook advertising, Google ads. We don't do any paid ads in our digital marketing. It just has not become a part of our strategy. That might change in the future, but we'll see. And we also don't, there might be a couple of folks in the office that pay for their own LinkedIn premium, but we don't pay for any LinkedIn premium subscriptions. So that's just kind of the way we're doing things right now. That could change. We probably would not pay for ads on Facebook because we get enough traction there already. The only place I see that paying off is maybe on LinkedIn or Google, but again, we'd have to kind of sit down and look at the ROI on that. But does anyone else use these paid services for digital marketing?
Looks like a firm no.
Firm no. Yeah, it may change. We're still, really our best advertising happens in the Journal of Business. That's kind of where we send our ad dollars, and seems to work well. So we've actually scaled down quite a lot just to that. So it'd be interesting to hear from like a real ad person to see what their take is on it, but that's what we're doing.
I think a lot of it depends on how you get your business. And for professional services, people, they want to see you online, but they're not necessarily choosing you online. We all know it's relationship based, or in public arena, there's, you know, an interview process. So I think you have to have that presence for sure. But if you're selling professional services, I don't know if paying for the ads is such a good place to spend your money. As long as you're there, though, you have to still be out there.
Yeah, we found because we don't do any like single family or anything like that. So we don't work with the general public. So a lot of our business comes from referrals or past clients. So a lot of our ad dollars goes into, you know, ads in the DJC, you know, metropolitan, you know, magazines, stuff like that, more in print than out there advertising on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram.
I know this might be a little not social media like, but does anybody do white papers? And is it working for them? No, okay, because we're throwing around the idea of it, but I was curious.
I'll throw that over to Tyler because I think we're just doing our first one coming up here. That's a collaboration between us and a client or a consultant.
I love that you're collaborating with them.
Yeah, they're a much more technical. They're like an energy modeler, and so they're doing the bulk of the work. And you know, we're kind of like all of that technical jargon that we're like, what? And you know, they can be kind of pricey. So doing it as a collaboration is really nice because you know
Totally.
you can have the cost. So yeah, our marketing manager is the one who is collaborating on that more and driving that. So she would have more knowledge on that, but seems to be pretty good so far.
I've heard so many good things about that, and a lot of people are just building up their technical library and doing lunch and learns and putting their presentations on the website. It seems to just be an amazing form of marketing when people are looking for a solution to a problem that you've already solved or talked about or put a resource out. So I think that's what we're going to be shifting our strategy to and seeing how that works. So excited for
Yeah.
you.
We'll have to give a
Good luck.
follow-up
Yeah.
once it's published and it's out there. So we'll
Yeah,
follow
good
up
luck.
with
Those
that.
are great things to do. I mean, for any professional firm to be able to be published and have that type of stuff out there is, you know, really great. We've been lucky enough to be in some articles where we've been approached about either some designs we've done or, you know, what's going, you know, certain features and different stuff, and it's worked out really nice.
Amazing.
Can I ask real quick? I don't think it came up. Is anybody using YouTube for videos? I know we talked about TikTok, but does anybody advertise their YouTube channel and do anything that way?
We use YouTube. We probably have 30 videos up there. And that's even if I take a short 2-minute short form video, as long as it is like landscape orientation, I'll put it on YouTube. It's a really easy way to share the YouTube, share the video. Oh my gosh. And yeah, so we use YouTube. We don't advertise it a lot, but people can go on and play through all of them. And we will, so like if your firm does fly-throughs or 3D renders, that's easy video content. So I'll just ask them to save the fly-through for me out of Lumion or SketchUp, and I'll just upload that to YouTube with some music and a title slide, and boom, you've got a video. So yeah, we do use YouTube.
Such a good idea. Yeah. All right, well, it's 1 o'clock, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. I think just the biggest takeaway from this is not doing too much where you can't maintain it. Pick 3 platforms. If you're just starting, pick 1 or 2, maintain it, keep a consistent schedule, build it up, and then you can always add on more later. You can take things off that aren't working. That just seems to be the biggest struggle for people. It's just they want to do it all and they want to do it all at once, and it's either just not good quality or it's not maintained. And I think that would be my biggest takeaway. What about you, Emily?
Yeah, just, you know, if you can get what would be strategic for your specific firm, it might not be what the firm down the street is doing, but identifying who you want to reach and starting there, instead of, yeah, kind of doing it all, shotgun approach. Yeah, a little goes a long way.
Anybody else have any takeaways they're gonna take and try something new, different, or not do? All right. Well, then I think we'll close it up, Emily.
Hey, thanks everybody.
We've
That was
got
a fun one.
some awesome presentations in May. So we've got a safety consultant on the 19th, and then a stylist and image consultant on the 26th. So if you haven't already, sign up for those. I think the stylist is just going out, so it just went on the website. So thank you guys. Happy Cinco de Mayo. See you soon.
Thank you very much.
Bye, everybody.